So it
right.
needs to be like you've initiated that thought that you're talking about.
Okay.
We're rolling.
Jay, you've been tracking sea ice and ice sheet movement and melt for many, many years. Can you take us back to when you first started it back in those 70s?
Well, I first started studying the ice sheets and the sea ice in the 1970s. And on the sea ice, for the first 10 years that we studied the sea ice, it didn't change very much. So those 10 years of the 1970s are a good reference point to see what's happening. And when we studied it for another 20 years, things were changing about 2 or 3% every 10 years. We thought that this may be due to the warming climate, slowly warming climate. And then when we got past 2000, around 2002, 2003, things started to happen much faster. Something really different took place in the system. And instead of seeing every 10 years a 2 or 3% change, every 2 or 3 years we would see a 2 or 3% change in the sea ice. So there's been a tremendous loss. And one of the things that we look at very closely is the amount of ice at the end of the summer, like right now. This year we're approaching a minimum. The amount of ice in terms of area that's going to be left at the end of the summer is only about 40% of what we had during the 70s. But the other critical thing that's been happening is that the ice has been getting thinner. And we know this from satellite measurements. So while the area has gone down to 40%, the thickness has gone down to about a half. So in terms of volume of ice, we only have about 20% of the volume left at the end of this summer that we had during the 1970s. And this is a dramatic change that's taken place. We think it's due, very certainly, to the warming of the climate in the Arctic. And the changes in sea ice have a feedback effect in the climate. Because the sea ice goes away, we have open ocean that absorbs a lot of heat that's coming in from the sun. So the ocean gets warmer. Instead of reflecting back to space from the bright sea ice, it's absorbed in the ocean. This warms up the ocean so that the sea ice melts faster and grows slower in the wintertime.